receive a lot of questions about magazine changes specifically, and I want to give you a couple different methods for changing the magazine and just the method I use. Uh, I think the less is more approach is also holds true with mag changes, trying to make it just as simple and repeatable as possible. For the position of where you hold the gun when you change the magazines, some people prefer, and it also depends on your equipment. Having a magazine well is going to change things a lot compared to a factory gun with a smaller magazine well in the pistol. But you see some people hold the gun more upright, kind of out in front of them when they do the mag change. That way it's maybe easier to get back on target, or guns are barely brought off the target. Otherwise, sometimes bringing the gun lower, any variation of this to do the magazine change as well. For my preference, I've spent like all of my shooting career shooting either stock guns or guns that are close to being stock. I've never used a gun that has a magazine well in competition, so that's affected my preferences, I suppose, and habits a little bit. If you like doing the reload, like with the gun more up front or away from you, I think that's fine. There's just a couple things to think about. If somebody hands me something and they want me to work on it or look at it or some small little details, for me anyway, the closer I have it to me, I just feel like I have more control or I can see it better. It's tougher if I really wouldn't want to work on anything at arm's length. So I realize people have memory or habits, or I've seen a lot of people reload the gun high that are very effective at it. But for me anyway, I prefer just holding the gun a little bit lower, and I'll explain some efficiencies that kind of tie in with that. So for me, when I'm going to reload the gun, I prefer to have the gun lower, and I think it's really important that the magazine well points towards where the magazines are going to come from. The reason for that is if I held my gun, let's even doing it low, more like this, then the magazine has to come out of the pouch. I have to go under the mag well, then come up. Or if I held it with the magazines more pointing upwards, obviously that's going to be a little bit goofy. Or if I held it straight outwards, then my magazine has to come out and I've got to find to match the angles. So I think the most efficient route for me is just to bring the pistol kind of lower, and I've got the magazine well pointed directly where the magazines are going to come from. The reason for that is once the magazine comes out, it's really easy to find the mag well of the gun. It doesn't, number one, I don't have as far to move the magazine between the pouch and the gun, so there's less distance for it to move, and it's just easier to do that, whether I'm moving or running. That'd be my preference. As far as when you grab the magazine, honestly, it's just as important as where you draw your pistol from the holster, in the sense of being repeatable and your hand positions on it. The way I'd recommend when you're up shooting or you want to find your first magazine pouch, I just have my hand come straight down off the gun to that first mag pouch. And the way I like to seat it in my hand is the base pad will be in kind of the meaty part of my palm. My fingers will wrap around the back of it just when I draw it, wherever they land. And then my pointer finger will be on the front spine of the magazine, but bent. The reason for that is I want to be able to get my fingers out of the way. Once I get the magazine started in the gun, then everything kind of just moves out of the way, and then you could push the magazine the rest of the way in. One other, I guess, kind of efficiency thing is just less is more. So with tension or trying to really tense up or like use more muscle, it's going to make this way tougher. Instead, a bit of finesse or just being relaxed is going to give you a far better outcome. As far as hitting the button, the other thing I think people get hung up on for maybe the wrong reasons is they want to have a button long enough that they're able to hit the mag release without shifting the grip at all. For all the guns I've ever used, I'll end up having to do some little amount of letting the gun kind of shift inside my hand, but I'll shift my gun just a little bit in my hand, hit the button, and then shift it right back to my regular grip. That way my hand's back in the position I want to have it in before the magazine gets to the gun. So when I'm done shooting the last shot, like I said, do a little bit of whatever that motion is to release the magazine back in the regular grip I want to have it in. The gun comes low, so it's pointed towards the magazine well. Then once the magazine comes up, again, the angle of the magazine, the mag well, equal or they're the same thing. Once you kind of get the magazine started to get seated, then all I'll do is just use my palm to push the magazine the rest of the way back in. Then with that, the draw I like using, where when the gun comes out to the target, I just end up hitting my support hand into the bottom of the trigger guard. I use that same thing then when I do a magazine change. So it's nice because I can use that grip or that sequence for gripping the pistol regardless of what I'm doing. So if I'm doing a mag change, once the magazine goes back in, then I'll end up just running the bottom of my support hand back into the trigger guard to get the grip, set the pressures as the pistol's extending back out to the target. For par times, people can really race these and get, quite impressive. 0.8 or sub-second. For competition use, I think if you're around in dry fire, like a second, 1.1, 1.2, that puts you in a pretty good place. For most of the high cap divisions, you're gonna have enough moving in between positions where you can get the magazine change done, or if it's a classifier or something where it's a stand and shoot, a 1.1, 1.2 a second is gonna be plenty. So I wouldn't obsess about doing the mag changes as much as for competition nerds. Previously, it'd be a lower capacity division like what production division was. So you'd find yourself doing a lot of magazine changes, maybe 3 or 4 for a practical shooting stage. Now, for most high cap divisions, you're probably doing 1 mag change during a practical shooting stage. So this isn't an exercise or a part of your shooting that I would train to ad nauseum, but it's good to be able to at least do it competently. And again, have some amount of familiarity with doing it. The other part I haven't talked about yet was each magazine pouch. The way I do that is I'll just let your hands go to wherever they are, where they find the magazine, rip it off your belt, and then put it in the pistol. So your hands will just, by doing that kind of sweeping motion that I like doing, where my hand just comes down, it's like the first magazine's not there. Instead, I'll just keep going and I'll find another magazine. But the process stays the same, where it sits in the meaty part of my palm, finger along the front. Once I see inserting in the pistol, push the magazine the rest of the way, and extend it back to target. So when you're doing your training, for most divisions that are, like I said, high cap-ish, probably your first and second magazine pouch are all you really need to practice from. Your third one you can if you want to, but I wouldn't spend a ton of time on it just because most people don't use that if you're a competition shooter anyway. So hopefully it's helpful and gives you some things to think about. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them below and I'll try my best to answer them, either just with a comment or if I need a follow-up video, I'll make that. Either way, appreciate you watching. Have a good day.